What's up? I'm Jason. This is another episode of Lost in Thought today. Outside with my dogs, letting them run around. Still snow everywhere. And the roads are good. Sky looks awesome. Trees for most part are green. We got a couple dead ones that's got to get dropped out here. Like that one right there. On this video, I'm gonna address basically anarchy, but it's not directly just that. It's the fact that it's not anything new, but people tend to like to go to one extreme to another, and the moment you let them know, like, hey, it might not be a bad idea, it has its place, but you don't want to be running everything on true anarchy. People seem to think that because one guy, which I won't name him out of respect, because I do respect him and I like what he has to say. I like what he believes in. The downside is you have to believe that humans are inherently good. You also have to believe that humans are, in a state of anarchism, they're going to still find value in currency or through physical metals like silver, gold, that type of thing. Copper and brass will become more valuable than gold and silver. Your gemstones, shit like that, that's not going to be anything. It's just raw glass at that point to a lot of people. I mean, when I get told to look up anarchy, when I know what anarchy very much is, by somebody that's not much older than my kids. See, growing up, the political spectrum that we were taught, other than, Republican, Democrat bullshit, was that the further left you went, it was more government, and it turned into dictatorships, tyranny, that type of thing. But then when you go further right, that goes to no government at all. It's pure anarchy. To believe that anarchism is a permanent answer is to believe that humans are inherently good. And that humans as a collective, as a global collective, are going to, magically be on the same page with one another. When you look to our more recent histories, like during the 1800s, early 1800s, before the U.S. extended from the East Coast to the West Coast, and the further away you got from the East Coast, the more dangerous things got for you. Because there wasn't really any form of organization, and even then, when it came to community, they all had to still come to a common agreement of what was an accepted currency, because yes, they were functioning under the United States government and all that. But then they also took a lot of barter trade, and barter and trade isn't just physical items. It's you, the person, that might have to trade yourself. You might have to put yourself into servitude to get the things that you need or your family needs to somebody else. Slavery didn't begin under colonialism. Slavery began under tribalism. And when you start breaking the country into a anarchic format, it becomes a free-for-all. I'm going to pause this for a second. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. I had to deal with my dogs real quick, because even though I live out in the sticks, I still have a couple neighbors nearby me. My closest neighbor, about an acre or so away. But even during like I was saying, the Wild West era, what we would call the Wild West, or recognize it as that time period, you were also dealing with what, maybe 2 billion people on the planet. And at that time, you had people who were more welcoming to the idea of allowing someone to take leadership of a community, or a council of people who function as leadership, which is basically what our government is. In the end, you're still forming the basics for government, whether it's in a commune, a tribalized system, those types of things. Yeah, that you're still practicing a form of government, which some people would say, oh, that's statism. Where do you think it all began? So if you truly want true anarchism, that's a free-for-all. That's everybody for themselves. All those people who are living, like I am, living in farmland area, mountain areas, those types of things, they're going to be doing, for most part, fairly well. The people in the cities, though, you're going to have a really bad outcome. You're going to have about half the people in the city who are just looking to stay safe, keep themselves and their families safe, maybe their friends and neighbors safe, while the rest are straight up robbing, raping, murdering, and destroying other people to get the things they need. Pillaging, like they're Vikings and pirates. And some people might think that's funny because of a video game or movies, but the reality is, if you're gonna act like a fucking Rambo, you're probably gonna be the first to die in those situations. And like I was saying, when it comes to cities, once it gets to the point that there's no more food in the city, and you'll have only small pockets of people who might be able to convert, some of the leftover open spaces or the city parks into farming areas, they're still going to have the higher statistical chance of being robbed and having their shit taken, because, well, where's most of the world's population at even now? They're in the cities. We got 8 billion people, and most of them live in cities. So once they're pretty much, dwindling themselves down, and there's no more food, really no more food left, what do you think those people are going to do? And during that time when they're all, basically killing each other for what they need, a lot of those people are going to escape the cities. And where do you think they're going to head? They're going to head straight towards communities like mine that will become more aggressive, because we would be trying to protect our communities, and would become more distrusting. And so you would have to compete with that aspect, because in these communities, a lot of people will work together. A lot of them will make community choices that, when it comes to things that affects the community, but otherwise, what happens at your home, on your property, that's your fucking problem. And see, people coming out of the cities are going to be coming out. They're going to be looking for food, and they're going to be looking for someone that's going to be able to help them and their family. Hopefully I don't pull a doobie out, but good chance I will. But, because I make my own smokes. And this might be a doobie. But, you're going to have the people coming out of the cities, they're going to be doing basically 3 things. You're going to have the larger group of people coming out that are the people who were destroying all of those and killing all of those people who were trying to work together, because that's what's going to happen. They'll start dwindling down from fighting with each other. And so you're going to have people coming out of there looking for either their own space that they can, yep, that's a doobie, that they can call their own. And a lot of times they'll find a space thinking that, okay, this is in a rural area, there's nobody around. There's a chance that they may end up setting up home on somebody's property, in a portion of the property that, the owner may not frequent. But when they do, there becomes a problem. You'll see BLM land, government lands, those things, those areas, yeah, you'll have people who will start to settle in those areas if they're smart. But those who do, those will be the smart ones, especially if they know how to build from nothing and survive basically to the point where they can thrive there. There'll be people do it. But then you're going to also have the people coming out of the cities who are going to continue what they were doing in the cities to get what they need because they don't know how to do anything else. With anarchism, there's a place for it. There may be perks and benefits to it, but it doesn't benefit anybody but you, the individual, nobody else. Because the only reason why somebody would come to you to offer helping you or working with you to make something happen, it's not for your benefit, it's for their own individual benefit. That's generally how people function, as is. But when people are concerned about how, want to try and say, well, this is how it affects other lives, blah, 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 blah. On that political spectrum that I talked about here a little bit ago, whether you go further left or further right, it's going to involve a lot of people dying. And it's going to still involve people ending up in servitude. It's just how it goes. You'll watch 8 billion people under anarchy, which to a degree I feel like our governments, although they're all shitty and I don't really trust them at all, they perform a form of controlled anarchy with their wars, and that's not, I don't want to get into that, but those who might understand the analogy or the comparison will know what I mean by that. Because in war, there's, you might have some set rules, but war is, in essence, a mere image of what humans are almost really like. Humans are still animals. We are, if not more unpredictable than a wild animal. And even more untrustworthy, because at least with a wild animal, it might do one of two things. It might fucking attack you and eat you, or it might go away. Where a human, they have ways of harming you without physically harming you. They may manipulate you, drain you, use you, do all kinds of weird shit for their benefit. And then when they're done fucking you over in that kind of system, for all you know, when they're done using you for what they want, all they have to do is shoot you. They know there's nobody that's going to come and fucking punish them for their actions. Your neighbors might, or your friends might. But in that type of system, everything that you know now won't exist. These big corporations and all that shit, and these restaurants and all that shit won't exist. You'll have, you might have, you will have your trading posts. You'll have your pub, saloon type places. You'll have your whorehouses. You'll have shit that you would see in the movies that, replicates what it was like to live in the Old West. And hell, even in medieval ages, you'll have that type of system. The only thing that divides it is you don't actually have technically any form of leadership but your own. And you have to hope to God every day that you wake up, and that you do wake up, that other human beings are going to be on the same page as you are. And most, by majority, are not. And when I look at how this world is functioning, how the people are functioning themselves, that out and actually have a smoke for once. Or have a smoke instead of this. But people seem to think that we're all going to magically be on the same page when everybody wants to be, the alpha. Whether you're female or male, everybody wants to be an alpha. Everybody wants, their word to be heard and respected. And the problem is with that idea, especially in an anarchic system, a real one, they don't have to listen to you for shit, even if you think you're a leader. You're still going to find yourself in a world of leaders, followers, and bandwagons. And it's going to be more dangerous than it would be in an organized system. The problem that I have and that we all have with what we're dealing with right now is not a constitution. Our problem are politicians who don't know what it's like because their parents were politicians or their parents were very rich and successful. They don't know what it's like to be an average American because they've always been above that classification of the average American. The problem we have is we won't vote for an average American anymore. When in the early era of our government, most of our people in our government were either people who served in the military or were just obviously lawyers, doctors, that type of shit, intelligent people. But you also had a lot of farmers and hunters that became leadership at that time. You had inventors. You had people from all different fields of the American, I guess you could say the American life. When we keep just relying on people who are basically born, raised, and groomed to be the type of politician we despise, and we keep voting for these people, it needs to stop. The hard part is, and we all know it is, it's hard for an average individual to be able to campaign or whatever to make themselves heard so that others would listen to them necessarily. We all understand that. We know Donald Trump knows that one really well. Negative and positive attention is all good attention for good advertisement and marketing. Because it still gets your name out regardless, and people just keep posting your stuff, and you're always going to be there. So, really the only way for people to really make it, to make a change is in the sense that where I agree with anarchism is people that do agree on a controlled form of it to remove our problematic politicians who are abusing their spots in our government and abusing our constitutional laws. They keep dividing us by creating more and more laws, which only create more and more criminals, which only forces those people under the wing of government rule. It turns them into government slaves. I hate to say this, but the black community knows this better than anyone, especially because of that 94 crime bill that targeted the black community. They should know better than anyone what it's like to be targeted by your government and have laws set up that put in place that target your community. That law is an example of the government protecting itself from its people. And in fact, that law and the ones like it completely fucking violate, in a lot of ways, the civil rights laws that were put in place to protect people of color, to protect men and women, to protect people regardless of their race, religion, their gender, their sex, all that. See, and one of the ways and tactics that they get you to keep giving up your rights is to get you to hate the people on the other side. They got you so wound up between Democrat, Republican, liberal, and conservative. You can have a liberal and conservative anarchist. You can have a liberal conservative dictator or tyrant. The liberal conservative and conservatism isn't specific to Republican, Democrat. And so I don't have faith in people either. Because being a logical realist, anybody who's given enough power, given time, will abuse it. There's a reason why one of my favorite verses out of the Bible was where Jesus was asking the people, why do you call me good? The only one who is truly good is the only one who is good is my Father in heaven. Humans are not inherently good. We're chaotic. We're futile. By nature, in majority, are selfish are selfish species. And a lot of this selfishness mainly came from the gain of physical properties, the gain of position that might put them over other people. You start to see these characteristics come out in those people. When you become extremely popular and famous amongst a crowd of people, it makes you feel important, and all of a sudden you think, oh, I'm doing this for the others. No, you're not. You're doing this for yourself because it makes you feel good that you're getting all this attention. In my eyes, it's really no different than Bono from YouTube being, Mr. Humanitarian. For a long time there, you'd hear he did this and did that and blah, 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 blah. He was a Mother Teresa with a penis. And it doesn't mean that what he was doing was bad. But a lot of it was being done more so out of selfish reason. There's that fine line. There's a fine line between being a humanitarian and just being a selfish son of a bitch who realizes that if you do this on a constant, you'll get this back. And that's being selfish through selfless acts. Again, not an evil thing, but it's also something that is easily abused and some misconceive, and it becomes a part of their ego. And so the people who can go out and do things for others without having to post it to the world or have the media follow you around and go, oh, this guy did this for these people and they're doing this for those people on it. It's the people who are doing it and doing it to not get the attention that I appreciate more. They're more genuine. It's not the guy who goes up and records himself handing a homeless person $200 or a whole new wardrobe and money to, get set up in a hotel for a bit. Those are people who are doing big things that, they helped somebody change their life, but they did it to change their own life because they know that others out there want to be able to do the same. This isn't a bad thing. The bad thing is taking advantage of that for personal popularity and ego. Somebody probably went off the road. But when it comes to anarchism and government, when a government gets too big, it's a bad thing. When there's absolutely zero organization, that's a bad thing. Historically, if you were to take a ruler and say, the very end where where it would be like 0 inches, so the very end of the ruler, that'd be like, say, complete anarchy. And then at the other end, at the 12-inch mark, that's complete government. The U.S. for a period of time there, when things really actually were working out and the changes that needed to be made were within our social changes on how we treated each other. And now we're back to treating each other like shit, based on the same shit that the civil rights protects. The same shit that, the same topics and typology of things that you don't talk about in a bar because you know it's going to start a fist fight. If you take that ruler and look at where our government should be sitting at, we should be sitting in that 3 to 4 range, where we have minimal government and all the powers to the people. That's where it was supposed to be to begin with here. That's not a statist belief. That's not a woke liberal belief. That's just common sense. You have to have some level of organization to keep things going. Otherwise, if you go into pure anarchy, there's no organization at all. It's limited, and it's only collective to communities, and they all have to agree with communities that they most likely don't even know exist at that point, for things to continue the way they are. Most people, when they're like, no, I got to worry about feeding my family, blah, 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 and anybody can reprint currency and digital currency, you get smart enough people, they can reproduce that too and counterfeit that as well. They'll find ways to do it. They always do. Whether it's counterfeiting physical currency or counterfeiting digital, there are going to be people who will figure it out and know how. And even then, if it's digital, you have to hope that every community has an internet connection. And you have to hope that there is going to be an internet service provider still around for that to continue. Because once those businesses and those computer systems start to shut down or break down, or because a group of asshats decided to go raid one of these places and destroy everything, you won't have service. Some of this shit is automated, so if you don't pay it and all that, it'll automatically shut down for you. So, I mean, I want to say those born after 1990, some of you are extremely intelligent people, but you use your intelligence and you brain farted away. You want respect. You want people to listen to you. But some of your arguments, you have to think it all the way through. Because it's not going to work the way you think it is. It's what we call pipe dreams. And if you're going to believe in pipe dreams because you think humans as a whole, I'm going to start pulling cans out of here. But if you're going to start thinking humans are good as a whole in general, then you've already lost your argument. If you think everybody's going to magically just start working together because there's no government and they're inherently good, you've already lost. You're already living in a fantasy. There's no point in history that humans have just been automatically good. If you don't get along with somebody historically, it usually ended up with somebody dying. Just look at the American history with some of these famous family feuds that were going against that were with each other. A lot of people in those families died. Neighbors fighting with each other, killing each other. You have to have faith that people are going to collectively have and practice the same things you believe in for a world to function without any form of government. Without any form. And I'm sorry, My faith is in God and in Jesus, not in human beings. Human beings are flawed. They're chaotic. And when somebody is given too much power, over time they abuse it. And when they abuse it, it only hurts people more. And it doesn't matter if you're living in a feudal system that was created through the anarchy that set that forth, a tribal system, or a communal system. It's still going to end up involving some form of government, and it's still going to end up involving people getting hurt. You're going to make the same mistakes humans already made to get to this point. Anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. I hope that my thoughts, that type of stuff, helps other people to kind of think things through too. I may not always be the most accurate or even the most educated based, but what I want people to do is to start taking the time to think things through. You might think, oh, this would be great, this would be great, this would be great. Well, why not start putting down the list of good and bad? What's the bad that can come from this? There's a lot of bad shit that can come from, especially going into anarchy. There's a lot of bad shit that can end up happening under a total government situation. There's a lot of bad shit that can happen in between. But what you're looking at is the two extremes. Do you want guaranteed mass deaths and slavery to return? And that's at both ends of that spectrum. Because if communities start fighting with each other, it's only a matter of time before they start taking each other's kids, taking each other's women, and taking each other's men who are too weak to fucking really defend for themselves, and putting them into servitude for their communities. It's only a matter of time. And as is, we already know there's already those minute groups out there, especially in parts of the South, that will immediately start doing that. Take care.